Some love stories change hearts, others change history, but this one shattered a kingdom. Samson was no ordinary man. He was a Nazarite, set apart for God from birth. Stronger than any warrior, feared by nations, and destined to judge Israel. With the power of the Spirit of God upon him, he tore lions apart with his bare hands, broke ropes like threads, and struck down armies with nothing but the jawbone of a donkey. But even the strongest man can fall, not by sword or spear, but by love. It began in a place called Sorek, a lush valley between the land of Israel and the territory of the Philistines. Israel's enemy. Samson, the mighty judge of Israel, walked alone through the vineyards, perhaps weary of battle and seeking something more than victory. Perhaps because of revenge, because his wife was taken from him. That's when he saw her. Delilah. Her beauty wasn't loud. It whispered. Her dark hair flowed like silk down her back. Her eyes held secrets, soft, mysterious, and deep as the valley itself. She moved with grace, her voice calm, inviting, like a lullaby you didn't know you needed until it touched your soul. And Samson, the man who had faced death and never flinched, fell. The Bible doesn't describe their first conversation, but it tells us something powerful. And it came to pass afterward that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. Judges 16:4. He loved her, not for her nation, not for her connections, but for her. But Delilah wasn't just beautiful. She was smart, respected, and noticed, especially by the Philistine rulers. When they learned Samson had fallen for her, they saw opportunity where Samson saw love. They came to her in secret and whispered, "Entice him, and see where his great strength lies, and we will each give you 1,100 pieces of silver." Judges 16:5. It was a fortune, enough to buy loyalty, enough to buy betrayal. Delilah's heart? We will never know whether she loved him or not, but she agreed. So began a game of words, whispers, and slow unraveling. That evening, with the fire crackling softly, Delilah leaned into Samson's chest. "Tell me, my love," she said, her voice wrapped in silk. "Where does your strength come from? What makes you so different from all other men?" Samson smiled, holding her close. "If you bind me with 7 fresh bowstrings, I'll become as weak as any other man." She laughed and kissed his cheek. But as he slept, she tied him, just as he said. Then she cried out, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you!" He snapped the bowstrings like dried grass. The trap failed, but he didn't leave. Again, she asked. Again, he lied. "New ropes," he said the second time. "Braid my hair into a loom," he said the third. Each time, Delilah tried. Each time, she called out. Each time, Samson rose, free, strong, untouched. And yet, he stayed. Love makes men blind. Desire makes them vulnerable. Delilah's voice became comfort. Her touch, his weakness. Her eyes, his undoing. Then came the night everything changed. Delilah looked at him. No games now, no laughter. Her voice trembled, but her words struck deep. "How can you say, 'I love you,' when your heart is not with me? You have mocked me these 3 times and have not told me where your great strength lies." Judges 16:15. Day after day, she pleaded. She didn't shout. She whispered. She didn't threaten. She cried. And Samson, the strongest man in the world, couldn't fight her tears. Then he told her all his heart. Judges 16:17. He confessed the secret, the vow, the uncut hair that symbolized his covenant with God. "If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak and be like any other man." She knew then this was the truth. That night she laid his head in her lap. Her fingers ran through his long, dark hair, her voice like a lullaby. And as he drifted into sleep, Delilah summoned a man with a blade. One lock fell, then another, until all 7 were gone. And his strength went from him. Judges 16:19. She cried, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you." He awoke, but the Spirit of the Lord had departed. He was seized, blinded, chained. The warrior fell, not in battle, but in the arms of the one he loved. The Bible never tells us if Delilah watched him dragged away. It doesn't say if she cried or turned her face in shame. But the silver clinked in her hand, and Samson's silence would fill the valley of Sorek for years to come. This isn't just a tale of passion. It's the warning behind a kiss, the cost behind desire, the weakness that even the strongest can carry. But perhaps, just perhaps, Samson didn't regret loving Delilah. Maybe for a man who bore the weight of a divine call, a moment of love, however fleeting, was worth even the fall. In the end, Samson's fall at the hands of Delilah wasn't the end of his story. It was only the beginning of a greater reckoning, the ultimate revenge. Let this story teach you that betrayal may wound, but purpose waits patiently for a powerful comeback. The end.